Deshaun Watson said, and I quote, "I have nothing in my life to regret." And brother, that was a sentence.
It's the worst trade and contract in the history of sports.
Not even close.
Like,
it's not even close. Yo, thanks again for listening to the Men Who Cry podcast. On today's episode, Reek Parker is here to talk to us about all things happening with all 32 teams in the NFL this season. Like, subscribe, review, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. If you're not doing these things, I have to assume that you do not know what to do if you ever got fired from a job. Inside joke. On today's episode, I have the man, the myth, the legend, the Ohio State Buckeye super fan, Reek Parker, who is here. Reek, how are you doing today?
I'm better now because we're getting closer to kickoff, baby.
We are getting very close to kickoff.
And
if we have time, go ahead.
Real football sicko. If you're a football sicko, FCS starts tomorrow night. So, we go from there.
There it is. Real fans follow FCS football, bro. What's super funny, I know I'm ready to rail in the pocket. Did you see that thing that Akron football was doing? They're not FCS, but still. Oh, with the so people who don't know what we're talking about. For season ticket holders, because essentially what has happened now, unfortunately, is that FCS essentially truly is the minor leagues of like college football. Like all the great players basically play there for a year and then leave and have to go up essentially to the big schools.
That's right.
And it makes sense because like fans would be like, "What the fuck? You could have a 16-0 or how many games you play season and then be 0 and whatever the next season because everyone on your team left and the coach." But what Akron football is doing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, for season ticket holders, if you apply, you can call, is it the very first drive of the game?
The very first drive of the game, the very first drive of the very first game. So they already picked it.
Okay.
Yesterday. There was some connection like Arby's. So I'm not sure, what that connection was, but they've picked the offensive coordinator of the game already, and they're pumped about it. But yeah, I think it was, if you had become a season ticket member holder, your name went into the entry for that, and you went from there. A lot of people thought it was going to be Big Cat from
PST.
Yeah. Right. That didn't end up working out, and then obviously the Pat McAfee boys had a lot to do with that. I personally would have loved to have maybe seen somebody from Nightcap, maybe Chad Ochocinco
have go routes every time.
Exactly, because he actually he has it's obviously football knowledge. He has a connection to the state of Ohio playing with the Bengals, even though it's the way opposite side of the state. But I would have loved that. But yeah, it's a cool gimmick to get people involved and hype about MAC football, because what's cool about MAC football is they own a day of the week during the regular season.
Because they play Tuesdays, right?
Play Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So
yes,
you got to really love it. Starting like late September, early October, come home from school, whatever, and you got a game on. This is before basketball season starts, and there's no NFL on Tuesday and Wednesday, so you're making out like a fat rat.
Listen, I love the idea when I heard it. I was like, this is great.
It's amazing. It's an amazing idea.
Yeah, they should do that. Low key, I might do it every game. You get the first series of every game, because again, here's the thing. That would throw the other team off so much because you don't know what we're running, right?
The better question is or the worst, what happens if this works?
Yo,
imagine. What happens if this works and you go down on a 6-play drive, 9-play drive, 12-play drive to open the season and you score? What happens?
Whoever the season ticket holder is has to get a job somewhere.
Yeah,
you have to parlay that. You can say, I was that guy. We scored a touchdown. I clearly can know how to cook something up.
And it's incredibly detailed, but it's just do I do this within the flow of the game plan? How do I get clear to do this? There's a whole bunch of stuff, but it's still amazing. And much credit to the opposing team, whoever Akron's playing, because it's just they have to kind of be in on it too. I'm saying the coach is listen, I'm coaching. And I'm not coaching for you all to score, to be any way towards, susceptible as a defense. But this is pretty dope, man.
Yeah, bro. let me see. I'm looking up there because I want to know who are they playing. Their very first game is Thursday, September 3rd against. It's hilarious. Guess who they're playing? Guess. I'll give you a hint. ACC.
No way.
They're on the road.
So it's the first home game of the season.
This is the first. Okay. So never mind. So their first game was against Wake Forest. If it's their first home game, it's Robert Morris.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Because I would have been like, man, if they scored a touchdown on Wake Forest,
Wake Forest,
that would have not been good.
Let's take this imagination just a little bit further. Like they win the first game of the year. Let's say they win the first game of the year at Wake Forest. They come home 1-0, starting against Robert Morris. Man, like,
listen, that's how you start off a MAC championship.
That's how you start off the season. And if I'm a true freshman that's from Strongsville, Ohio, that is getting my first rock at Akron, and I'm like, oh well, we went on the road to North Carolina, we beat Wake Forest, and we came home and we had the CEO of Arby's be our co-offensive coordinator for the game, and we won by 40. Like, this would be crazy.
Facts, man. All right, man. Well, shout out to Jason Taylor, Dwight Smith, Chase Blackburn, Charlie Fry, all graduates.
The great Chase Blackburn.
You're right. I'm sorry, my brother.
One of my favorite bartenders at school, at the Outer End in Columbus. I believe my boy's name was Joe. Still manages the bar. That was his cousin. Chase Blackburn was his cousin. So he one day had this old Chase Blackburn Panthers jersey on. I was like, oh, that's my guy. He was like, well, that's my cousin. So yeah. It's there the game Chase Blackburn came back against the Packers in 2011. We lost that game. We got discount double checked with like 30 seconds left. But then, he had the playoffs of his life, and we ended up winning the Super Bowl. So the great Chase Blackburn.
2 Super Bowl rings with the New York Giants. They should be excited that we were talking this much about Akron football when we were supposed to be talking about the NFL. Yes, the NFL is basically back. Things are happening. Due to time constrictions, I will just give us a little bit of time if you want to talk about the whole what's happening with the Browns, another Ohio team.
Yeah, really staying in the state. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
We're here.
Exactly. Just not leaving the Midwest. Deshaun Watson was named the starting quarterback of the Cleveland Browns after, I am not kidding you, probably one of the worst PR jobs I have ever seen a coach do, or a player actually do. This is up there with, I don't know, do you remember when Robert Griffin basically said like the quarterbacks can't do good if the O-line doesn't protect them? This was worse. Like, this was worse than that. He essentially said, I am paraphrasing, that the fans can go fuck off.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
I'm not kidding you. You can watch the whole thing. The worst thing about the whole thing is the fact that whether you want to take this to be on the field or off the field, Deshaun Watson said, and I quote, I have nothing in my life to regret. And brother, that was a sentence.
Yeah, so, man. I don't know whether to call it nearsighted or farsighted, but the idea that the boos and it's like, all right, here's the little bit of recourse or benefit of doubt I will give the quarterback, and that is we shouldn't be booing when nobody gets hurt. Hard stop. But those boos weren't just a representation of you getting hurt. It's also because, like, your play on the field was that of horrid condition. You know what I mean? Let's just take a fan, and I having lived in the state for many years, and my best friends from college being from Shaker Heights, like, if you have any moral sense or any moral compass, you understand that, like, we just want a good, solid quarterback who's solid both on and off the field, right? And it's been a while since that's been. And your first quarterback that you think that, like, all right, this can elevate our team, after Baker Mayfield is Deshaun Watson, and you see he's going through this legal dispute with everything that was going on off the field, and you're like, how can I root for that? And then you try to think, all right, let's just think about football. And with getting Deshaun Watson, it takes the ball out of our best player's hand, which is Nick Chubb. And really just like, there's been no positive that's come from this marriage between the Browns and Deshaun Watson at all. Furthermore, he gets hurt and he plays and gets hurt. And then there's a quarterback conundrum last year with the cycle between, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Like you have that going on, which I'm at the point now where, although Shedeur is very young and there could be upside, the upside there could be more about learning how to play professional football. But the only way that's going to get better is if he plays professional football, meaning like it has to be outside of the meeting rooms, outside of practice, where it's as fast as it is. It's not as fast as the game. You have to see what you got in Shedeur. You have to. We think what we think about Deshaun Watson because we see it already. Like we see it. And it hasn't gotten any better since the 2019-2020 season, which for all purposes was good. Very good as last year in Houston. Or last year playing in Houston, rather. But like now he's a shell of himself. With Shedeur, it's like you don't know what you have because the door was kept rotating last year. It's open, it's closed, open, it's closed, open, it's closed. If you don't believe in him, or you're thinking about tanking for a quarterback for next year, you got to start somewhere. You have to start here. This is where you have to start by playing him, see what you can do, and if you can't, let's plan for the future.
Yeah, I think there's so many layers to this. Overall with Deshaun Watson is, I think the big headline for this for me is the Browns deserve this.
Yeah,
they deserve this. They traded 3 first-round picks and gave him not only the highest contract in league history at the time, fully guaranteed. And I get it. If you have a guy who at the time, I think we thought conservatively was a top 10 quarterback, maybe could have even have been considered a top 5 quarterback.
That's right.
You pay whatever you pay to get that kind of guy. But that's the biggest thing about all this is the fact that like Deshaun wanted to leave before all this came out.
Yeah.
Like this was not, it came out then he wanted to leave, or the Texans said, you know what, we're moving on from him. He wanted to leave, and then this stuff started to populate with Tony Busby and all the accusers and yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to relitigate that. But the Browns put themselves in this position by completely giving over leverage to a player. When have you ever seen an NFL team being unable to cut somebody? They cut Tua. And Tua's, I think they said it's $55 million of dead cap.
Seven of the people that they're paying on Miami Dolphins aren't on the team. 6 of them aren't on the team.
On the team. And that, like, we know they're going to be bad, right? The Browns can't cut Deshaun. The best case is for them to cut him next year. And I believe it's $83 million each year of dead cap money. They can't even cut him. Like it's impossible.
It's impossible.
And
it's the worst trade and contract in the history of sports.
Not even close. It's not even close.
History of sports. Like I remember when Albert Haynesworth signed with, I think, the Redskins.
Yeah, that was the first $100 million contract. Yeah,
that was bad. To me, Jacoby Ellsbury, when he got to New York, like it was like 7 years, and however so many. I think he played for the Yankees for like 2 years. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of bad contracts. This by far is the worst. And like
because they traded for him too. All those other guys were just straight signings.
I'm leveraging financially and with talent. Like, and by the way, you didn't even play the year before, so like you've just been sitting.
He's played 19 games.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. And
there's 17 in the season.
And exactly, it doesn't make any sense. I for one, can't necessarily believe that it's like this. I go back to 2018, right after I graduated from school. I'm living in downtown Columbus, Ohio, and my boys at the time that were all roommates. Thursday night football comes on. The Jets are playing the Browns, and at halftime, I'm like, I'm not watching this shit anymore. I'm going to bed. Turns out Browns in the morning. I remember them coming back in the house late and yelling. I remember hearing the bars going crazy that night. And we're in Columbus. We weren't in Cleveland. And I thought to myself, like, Baker might can turn this around. Baker might be able to turn this around. And he did. He took them to the second round of the playoffs. They lost
Again,
to
people forget that.
right. They lost to Kansas City. But and you know, there could have been some things there in the mix to how that, you know, came about. But that fall, Baker Mayfield wasn't there anymore. Like, think about that. Like, it doesn't make any sense, you know. And they had some bad luck with Nick Chubb getting hurt and all that other stuff. And I understand that, but you know, they wasted Myles Garrett's years and things of that nature. Player of the year and defensive player of the year. Look, you know, that Stefanski coach of the year. You got the revolving door around Joe Flacco, but the Browns have done this to themselves, and it's sad to see it. As a fan, I would be completely dejected from being any part of the dog pound.
Yeah. And I know there's a lack of morality in sports, right? The one thing that I think is the good and bad about sports is that it is the most egalitarian thing that we have in this country, right? Like, especially football. It does not matter if you are the number one pick in the draft. If you are getting outplayed by a 7th round pick, you will not play.
That's right.
Drew Bledsoe was benched with a $100 million contract for a 7th round pick.
Right.
We had Russell Wilson outplay Matt Flynn, who just signed his deal. This was not like Matt Flynn went out, played, was poor, and then they inserted Russ. He beat him out in training camp. And that's why, to me, it is the most fair thing that you can have in this world.
That's right.
And to me, the fact that Deshaun was able to do this, I think we all kind of knew that the Cleveland's starting quarterback is in college. He's not playing on their team. And the mess that they have made is of their own doing. The only bit of credence I would give them is that it's going to be a lot easier for them to go from Deshaun to Shedeur than the opposite.
Right.
It would have been way harder if Shedeur was struggling to then bench him and then put in Deshaun, right? Because the fans would have probably been even more upset. But I completely agree with you in the sense that I have my feelings about Shedeur. I do not think he is a starting level NFL quarterback. However, he is the mystery box. Right. And if the known commodity is crap, you have to go with the mystery box.
I'm going to be completely honest about something else too. Dylan Gabriel won a game as a starter.
Hey.
He got hurt and lost his job.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have a problem with giving him a shot too. And it seems like he's the odd man out here. I don't think he's any worlds better than the two, but he's most certainly not, you know,
that much worse
than them. Right. So, you know, and he's got to find a way to make his stake here somehow too. So, but the Browns seem inept at like trying to like improve that position. It's the most premier position in sports, and it's like having, you know, 9 good batters, but if you don't have any pitching, like, they're fucked.
Yeah.
So there's that.
All right. Well, that's a lot of time spent on a team that's probably going to have the number 1 pick in the draft this year.
And to their credit, they're going to have, you know, 10 options, right? There's going to be like,
they have extra first round picks. Like, that's the thing. Like, teams like, to me, the Browns should and we'll talk about certain teams that I think could be fun bad. They shouldn't be the worst team in the league. Or at least they should not attempt to be the worst team in the league. Like, the Dolphins have no talent, right? Like, they legit might go 0-17. They're that bad. The Browns, I mean, if they had decent quarterback play, I could see them winning 6 games. So, like, their team is not bad.
That's right. I mean, you know, their defense, you know, even with Jared Young and
Jared Verse.
Jared Verse, excuse me, and the
Desmond
linebacker
Ward.
from LA.
Oh yeah, the other line. Yeah, I forgot his
Right.
name though.
Desmond Ward and Grant Delpit. Like, they have a solid defense, like a really, really, really good defense. Now, losing Myles Garrett's going to hurt no matter which way you try to, angle it. But that's a really good team defensively.
Yes. Speaking of a team who's also good defensively, well, maybe not a team, but we're actually going to talk about division. There was no real good transition that I had for that. But what I will have is that we're still talking about the NFL in 32 seconds. Yes, this is a little bit of a gimmick that we are doing. Easy way to talk about all the teams in the NFL very, very quickly. So it'll be 32 teams in 32 seconds. The gist of it is we will each have 32 seconds to talk about the same team and our expectations, what we like, what we don't like, but you got to fit it in 32 seconds. I so happen to have a cell phone that has the ability to count down to 32. If you're on YouTube, you can see this is me putting it up, 32 seconds. So, Reek, we will start in the AFC. We can stick with the division. We will start with the AFC North. And let's start off with the Baltimore Ravens. You have 32 seconds. Please tell me what you feel about the Ravens starting now.
So I actually think they improved defensively.
Okay.
Trey Henderson, I like that pickup, and I'm always going to be a fan of Lamar Jackson. I like hearing him speak recently on this intimate interview he did with Essence. It made me really, really buy back in more if you could buy him more, right?
That is the perfect interview spot for Lamar Jackson.
Right. In addition to that, this young wide receiver they got out of USC, was Jacoby Lane. Like, this is it. I'm a little bit nervous about their new head coach.
All right. Nervous about the new head coach. That is all the time we had. All right. I am going now. So, agree. Jesse Minter, shout out to Michigan. Hail. I think that this is, and we will talk about this with other teams, the less time Lamar has that he does win the Super Bowl, the more I think it's not going to happen for him. I feel the defense will be very good. I am concerned about Lamar getting injured. Every year that Derrick Henry keeps playing, I will just be more and more nervous about him not being able to stay healthy. But I think that this team is going to win the division and be a true contender in the North. Okay, we are done. We're sliding a little bit to the, depending on which way. No, we're going north and to the left. We're going to go to the Cincinnati Bengals back in Ohio. Ready, set, go.
Anything Joe wants, he's gotten. Joe has gotten Jamar Chase and T. Higgins back. Joe has asked for some defensive improvements. They spent a top 10 pick on one last year. They spent a pick on one this year. And they got Dexter Lawrence. So now is the time for Cincinnati. And if it's not now, then, just like you said, it's never going to happen. They struck when the iron was at in 2022. This is the opportunity for them this year.
One question. Is Zach Taylor a good coach? I know he got to the Super Bowl. I know he's won the division before. I know Joe Burrow's been hurt a few times. I think he is oddly on the hot seat. Listen, Lamar, I think, what is it? Everyone in the division got their coach fired except for the Bengals, and the Bengals, I believe, finished second to last. I am very interested to see if the Bengals can actually get off to a hot start and keep Joe Burrow healthy. Because for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, they never get off the hot starts, and that's always screwed them in the later in the year. Okay, we are done with that. Next up, let's slide over back down, and let's head down to Pennsylvania, specifically Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and talk about the Steelers. Ready? Go.
They're kind of stuck in a very strange place. As far as their offense or whatever, it seems a little antiquated, right? Big pickup in Pittman, but also you still have a 42-year-old quarterback. What good is that going to do? I want to see where TJ Watt's at this year, but they're in limbo with Joey Porter. A fringe playoff team here at best. They're going to always be someone that you don't want to play in December, but I need to see more.
All right. Need to see more. All right. We are done with that. All right, ready, set, go with me. This is the strangest team I think in the NFL. I think we're going to find out how good of a coach Mike Tomlin was. I think we're going to find out how good of a coach Mike McCarthy still is. This is like two people who were married for a long time, bitched about each other, got divorced, and then somehow end up back together. Is it going to work? Who knows, right? I think if they get off to a really hot start, I think that they could use that momentum to be in contention throughout the year, but I do not see this team being a playoff team, which actually might be the most beneficial for the Steelers this year. Okay. And last but not least, the team that we spent a lot of time talking about their quarterback on, the Cleveland Browns. Ready? Go.
32 seconds isn't long enough for me to voice my displeasure, but if whoever's listening to this, you can stop right here and just rewind 10 minutes and you can listen to us talk about the Browns. We, as a people, aren't very happy with the Browns, and I'm not giving them any more energy. Hard stop.
Hard stop. See, giving up 11 seconds completely on the Cleveland Browns. All right, I will take some of that time, and we will start here. My 32 seconds will not be on the Browns. It will be on the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, you might be asking, why on the Milwaukee Bucks? Because the owner of the Cleveland Browns recently bought the Milwaukee Bucks. How has that been going for them? Awful. They just traded away their best player in franchise history, and they have been terrible for a long time. They're projected to have the worst record in the NBA this season without control of the draft picks. So it's part of the thing that I always say. It is not about the players, it's about the organization, and typically the guy at the top is the reason why your team is doing so bad. Okay. That is it with that.
Yes, that's an amazing, but that's even amazing, like, side by side. Like, you know, he's also part owner of Milwaukee. Like, this summer or this offseason, what did the Browns do? They traded their best defensive player of all, like, to LA. What did they do in Milwaukee? They traded the best player that, you know, we've seen in our lifetime with Milwaukee. They traded him to Miami. Like, it seems like there's not a recipe there for winning.
Not very much. Okay, we are done with the AFC North. We will slide over to places where I live now, since Reek is in Ohio. We'll go to New York, and we will start off with the AFC East, but we will start off with the defending champs of the division, the New England Patriots, and the cheaters up north. Go ahead.
I'm actually really kind of keen on them. Like, I have a great deal of respect for them. I think their offense kind of became a little bit more explosive with adding AJ Brown and Romeo Doubs. And then they really got to lock up Christian Gonzalez. They got to figure out what's going on there. They might need a little bit of safety help, deep safety help. But other than that, I really like this team. I didn't think that, you know, this quickly they would turn back into the Patriots of the Patriots we knew growing up. But I'm encouraged by this team.
Ooh, right at the buzzer. Okay, starting for me now. 2 quick points. Are we ever going to find out what happened between Mike Vrabel and Tan Ricini? Or is that ever going to come out and be said? I don't necessarily even know what happened. I think a lot of this is just innuendos, but that's neither here nor there. My bigger question is what you just said. Is this now the Patriots of old? I'm not saying that they have to win the division this year, but the Patriots of old made the playoffs all the time. The main reason why I think it will get to Patrick Mahomes later is why I don't think Brady is going to get caught is because he had the worst teams in the division all the time. That's not going to be the same for Drake May and the Patriots. Okay, there it is. Sliding on down, or rather, really more west, going down to New York, not to the Jets. We'll talk about those Buffalo Bills. Ready? Go.
It's kind of an odd place for them as well, because what I can see happening here, and there's more of an indictment against the NFL than it is, any team in any certain division. But like, them and the Patriots are going to be vying for like who wins that division, right? But then it becomes a point like that's going to separate them between the 1 seed and the 4 seed, or 1 seed and the 5 seed, and that sucks because like they get in as a proverbial wild card or whatever. But the Buffalo Bills, I'm encouraged by. I think Josh Allen now is the year for him, because if not, they're fucked.
So piggybacking off your point, what exactly is success for Buffalo this season? Is it Super Bowl or bust? That's going to be really tough with a first-year head coach. Obviously, we have other teams trying to do that. We just talked about with the Ravens. I think that Buffalo is going to be very good. I'm still kind of concerned about their defense and their wide receiver group. As much as I am a big DJ Moore fan, I feel like he's lost several steps, and it's going to be hard for them to overcome in the postseason. All
I want
right.
to know who DJ Moore's NBA comp is because he's like very talented. He's strong. He's explosive, but he's also like, oh, DJ Moore's on that team. Damn. Like, who's his comp?
The guy who just signed with the Denver Nuggets, DeMar DeRozan. Anyway, sliding on down, we're gonna keep going down to the south, but a little bit more to the east. We are going to head down to your New York J-E-T Jets. Ready, go.
I've never been more in a state of confusion about a team because I can't tell like what they're doing. Like they have terrible practices and then they come out in the preseason game and they blow the Pittsburgh Steelers out of the water. Like as far as like their performance on the field, I'm always going to be encouraged by the defense. I like Mike Fitzpatrick; he's back there. I'm actually hoping they cut Dane Belton so he can come back to the Giants. And they got David Bailey up there, number 3 pick out of Texas Tech. I'm encouraged by their defense. I have no clue what their offense is going to do. I know what they're doing right now. That's wasting Garrett Wilson's time.
Very much so. My feeling on the Jets is, do they have a lemon at coach? Listen, we are a pro DEI corporation around here. But I was watching some of them Jets games and I was like, Aaron Glenn looks like he don't know what he's doing. If they have a good coach, and I do not know if they do, but if they have a good coach, I'm really high on the Jets. I love their wide receivers. They have 2 first-round picks at the tackle spot. Their defense is going to be really good with David Bailey. Hopefully he becomes the player that everyone thinks he'll be. And they are just actually a good quarterback, whether it's a veteran, Baker Mayfield, or a top pick from being what I think would be a really, really good team.
That's right.
The last team in this division who will probably be already on the NFL clock for this season, we have your Miami Dolphins. Ready, go.
It took me a moment, but I didn't realize that Malik Willis was actually their quarterback for this year. And then I'm happy for him, but this sucks because it's just like once you live out this contract, man, you might not have another one because it's just like my job was holding up a fort that had no purpose of being held up for any reason because they're not going to be good. There's no talent. I love Devon Achane and him, but I don't know where else they go from here. Who's the young talent on their defense? What's going on?
So my quote or my 32 seconds is going to be for the Dolphins. It's going to be Shedeur Sanders. Now you're actually wondering why would I say Shedeur Sanders? Because the story that the internet has painted for Shedeur is what's actually happening to Malik Willis. A guy who was, if you look at Mel Kiper, who now is the guru of drafts, he was supposed to be a top 5 pick. Fell all the way to, I believe, like around 6. Went to the Titans, wasn't good. Went to the Pat, was kind of good. And now I think it's legitimately being set up to be god-awful for the Miami Dolphins. We're done with that. Okay. 2 divisions down in the AFC. 2 more to go. We will start off with the AFC West, and we should be respectful of the team who won the division, the Denver Broncos. 32 seconds. Here you go.
To my credit, to our discredit, if you go back and listen to our recording from last year, I wasn't high on the Broncos. I wasn't high on Sean Payton, and I was wrong. Patrick Surtain is the best corner in football. Hard stop. But that is a tough place to play out now in Mile High. They are a scrappy bunch, and they don't get the national prominence that they should because of their quarterback, right? And who's just kind of serviceable. This is the year they take another step. If he doesn't break his ankle, they go to the Super Bowl. So I'm looking forward to watching the Broncos play football this year.
I feel like they're the chic pick to go to the Super Bowl. What's the difference between them and Seattle last year? I mean, I can't think of a lot. Too hard place to play. Good defense up there. JSN ascended to being an elite receiver, but I don't think a lot of people thought about him as that prior to what happened to last year. Courtland Sutton is really good. The only reason I'm not picking them, and we'll get into Super Bowl picks probably at the end of this, is just because everyone's doing it, but I think the Denver Broncos are going to be outstanding once again this season. Okay, sliding over to what might be their main competition, depending on how you feel, if you're into some MVP hype with Justin Herbert, the Los Angeles Chargers. Ready, go.
You got to make up your mind. You can't be two things in this league, and that's like either it's stuck in the middle or stuck at the bottom. You have to make up your mind. Like, they're good during the regular season because no one's watching them because they play at 4:00, and they're always watching the Rams, right? No one's watching the Chargers like that. And then you get a glimpse of them, like, oh, they're not that bad. They're going to be coached very well. And then Justin's going to get all the prominence because of him and his new fiance and wife. But what's to come of all of this? Mike McDaniels is a big hire, but we got to see what comes from this. I need to see him win a playoff game.
My biggest question with the Chargers is, at what point is it Justin Herbert's fault? It's the coach, it's offensive coordinator, it's the injuries, it's the defense. This is a very simple league. They blame the quarterback. And I'm not saying it has been Justin Herbert's fault, but as you said, we are going into now, year 7 of this or so? And he has no playoff wins to his name. He has the worst playoff collapse in his name, and he's also not played well in the postseason. He's 0-3. I need to see him, like you said, win a playoff game where he actually might do so. We'll see what happens when we pick at the end. Okay. Next up, the team that was thought to be the most dominant team of probably this decade, the Kansas City Chiefs, in a little bit of a transition year. Ready, go.
You're right. Starting off they're in a transition year again. And to Trav and Patrick's credit, like, there's nothing to do with them. Patrick Mahomes coming back from being hurt. Trav is getting older, and the organization is doing right by him. But they use they trade the best corner. They get a new corner at LSU. They're trading for offensive linemen still. So I mean, there's a lack of continuity there. I'm hoping that something comes of this, but I'm not too confident on them as far as my long-term option for this season.
Has Patrick Mahomes peaked?
No,
I don't know. He has had his worst passer rating his last 3 seasons. The team feels like it's in a weird spot, and I think, as I said before, the main reason why I just don't think he'll pass Brady is the spot that he is in is very different from where Brady was at, in the sense that his division is absolutely going to be hard to win this year and for the foreseeable future, and the simple fact that he's eventually going to get a new head coach. Andy Reid's getting up there in age. When he will retire, we don't know, but it's going to be sooner rather than later. And the last team in the division, who some people might think have a little bit of buzz to win a couple of games this year, the Las Vegas Raiders. I was this close to calling them Oakland. Ready, go.
They have the best tight end in the NFL. Brock Bowers is the best tight end in the NFL. And nobody.
My fantasy team is hoping for that, yes.
Right, yeah, no one talks about it, but that's because no one can talk about it was the quarterback, right? Geno Smith last year. It's going to be Kirk Cousins this year for part of the year, and then you got Fernando Mendoza there, who all intents and purposes looked pretty good early in the first preseason game, but second one wasn't as great. I don't feel too confident about them, but I think it's going to be a fun project to watch throughout this year. Ashton Jennings got to get back, and he's hurt right now, so we'll see.
My question for them is, not a question. My statement is, Eddie Lacy. Why am I bringing up Eddie Lacy? Ashton Jennings, my brother, you better ball, because they are going to start giving you some Eddie Lacy, Trent Richardson kind of names might be floating out there for you if it don't get better, listen, they thought this man broke his leg like a couple weeks ago, and it looks like he is going to be fine, relatively fine. But to me, that's the one thing you look at the Raiders is how good is Ashton Genty, and when will the Fernando Mendoza presidential campaign begin? Okay, and the last division we have to talk about in the AFC is the AFC South, where the Houston Texans has won it. I think they've won it like 3 straight years in a row. No, they haven't. No, they won it last year, but I don't know if it's been 3 straight years. Anyway, the team that might have the best defense in the NFL. Ready, set, go.
This is going to be the toughest division to play in because they have 3 legitimate playoff teams here. Okay, so that's I don't know what team we're starting with, but
starting with Houston.
Starting with Houston, yeah. I'm not going to with CJ Stroud. This thing, we're overreacting. He's still a very good quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. He's turned the ball over in the playoffs. That is true. That defense is like the 85 Bears. So, we get him to calm down a little bit. That's my sneaky horse team, that could make a run to the AFC Championship. Just got to stay healthy.
You and me thinking just alike. I think everyone is overhyping what's happened with CJ. He has played in the postseason before. I just think he had the yips. I don't know what it was. I think that defense is going to be the best defense in the NFL, and I have them winning the division, and we'll see how far I have them going in the postseason. I'll say that at the very end. So, yeah, that's what I have for the Houston Texans. Next up, the team that I think surprised a lot of people with the fact that they were able to make the playoffs this year. They actually did win the division. I just had to remember because they hosted the Buffalo Bills and lost that game at home. The Jacksonville Jaguars, the team that I believe has one of the highest regression models in the NFL this season, if you just listen to their coach, Liam Cohen. Okay, ready, set, go.
Yeah, no, I'm building off of what the reporter said to him about being proud of that resurgence from last year. Like that was great to see, but you don't follow that up by letting half of your talent walk away. Echan is now in New Orleans, and there's a lot of other young talent defensively that let walk away. That's not going to be good for them in the long run. Trevor Lawrence had a chance to win that game late. They had a chance to win that game late in the playoffs, but I'm encouraged by the team. I just need Brian Thomas Jr. to do a little bit more for me.
LSU's very own. Can the Jags be consistent? I think a lot of people think that they're going to be one of the teams that go from making the playoffs to missing the postseason. We have new playoff teams every single year. And how exactly are we supposed to feel about Trevor Lawrence? No one pick in the draft a couple years ago. But I feel like if you look at the the players rank him, the coaches rank him, he's kind of almost like, And I wonder if he would be getting more heat if he was in a different time zone, essentially. But we'll see how it goes with the Jags. Next up, we'll be talking about the team that had the best record in the NFL, I believe by like week 9, and somehow missed the postseason. Your Indianapolis Colts. Ready, go.
Well, they missed the postseason because the quarterbacks got hurt. 2 of them, right? And then they have no idea what they're going to do with the quarterback they drafted, number 4 overall, right? So they have a lot of talent. There's a whole lot of talent. They just paid Alec Pierce. They just paid Jonathan Taylor, big Jonathan Taylor fan. And quietly, I'm still a Daniel Jones fan. A lot didn't go right for him in New York, but a change of scenery has helped him. That defense is also pretty good as well. So I like this team a lot. I like them to make the playoffs this year, and we can see where we go from there.
Yes, the Jacksonville Jaguars got their quarterback hurt. I forgot if he popped his Achilles and broke his leg at the same time or some version of that. I remember his friend at Duke was trying to make him like a cast to somehow play in. Shout out to going to Duke. I am more of the Daniel Jones skeptic, as also being a Giants fan. I am always curious, are you stuck to being in that bubble of 9-8, 8-9 with him as your quarterback? But as we saw before last season, this team was like 8-1 before he was injured. And so we'll see where the Colts do this year. And lastly, the last team in the AFC that we will be talking about overall are your Tennessee Titans. Brand new coaching staff with first overall pick from last season, Cam Ward. Ready, go.
I looked this over the other day. They got a lot of names, you know. They drafted Cardinal Tate 4 overall, and they still have Calvin Ridley. They got Tony Pollard back there. They just paid Peter Sharansky. They got a lot of names. And on defense, you got Big Jeff Simmons up front. They got a lot of names. I need to see it all come to be conjoined as one, right? I need Cordell Flatt, who they paid a lot of money to get there. I need Wandell to perform. You know, they got Brian Daboll there as the offensive coordinator. They got Robert Saleh, who's going to coach the hell out of them defensively. I want to see where this goes.
So the Titans were the team that I was actually going to be pretty high on in potentially making the postseason this year. And then I saw their preseason game. I'm not going to overreact from one preseason game, but I love their coaching staff. Brian Daboll, I think, is an excellent offensive coordinator. Robert Saleh, I just think, had a really crap deal, but he gets his defenses to play. And in a division that is probably the most topsy-turvy division that we have next to the NFC South, I think there's a chance that the Titans could win a lot of games and actually win the division. A lot of this is going to fall on Cam Ward and what he does with that offense. All right. AFC is completed. We have it done. And now we will slide on over to the NFC. We will try to keep it in the same order. With the NFC North, we have to start off with the winners of the North, the division who I think is going to be the toughest division in football. You could tell me all 4 of these teams get in the postseason. I would not be surprised if you tell me that. But we will start off with the champions of the North, the Chicago Bears. Ready, go.
That's what I got, right? Just I'm not saying that they're going to get any better or get any worse. They're just kind of there. They led the NFL in takeaways last year and interceptions. What do they do to reward that? They give away 3 and 4 of the players that were responsible for about 75% of those takeaways. I like Caleb Williams, but there has to be more. And he throws some very errant passes, and he's kind of sloppy, lackadaisical with his mechanics. So, you see where we go from here. Ben Johnson's going to coach him very well. That is a very tough place to play.
Caleb Williams, do you want to be Joe Burrow or do you want to be Trevor Lawrence? The reason why I bring up those 2 guys are both Heisman Trophy winners, both number 1 picks in the drafts. One guy has gotten the Super Bowl, even though his organization is not great. And the other guy has been mid, as we just talked about. I don't think you can live in the NFL off splash plays. And as of right now, that is kind of what has made his bones in. I love Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is like, it feels like I'm playing Madden watching him and coach his offense. Their defense is going to be very bad, so they're going to have to score a lot of points. Next up, the team that finished second in the division looked like a team that was pretty primed to win the Super Bowl until Michael Parsons tore his ACL, and they didn't win a game after that. I am talking about your Green Bay Packers. Ready, go.
Very similar to me with like the Tennessee Titans. A lot of names, a lot of names from Jordan Love, going back to Xavier McKinney, Michael Parsons, a lot of names, Christian Watson, a lot of names. I don't know what it is. It's kind of a beautiful disaster, right? You see him in November. It's going to be, Arctic there, but then they're going to be on the bump on the A block on first take because they beat the Cowboys, right? I don't know what you want from him, but we haven't gotten it from Jordan Love and this fraternity of quarterbacks that they've had for the last 50 years. I need to see more.
One of my favorite things about the Packers is the fact that they just never have had bad quarterback play. Sustain bad quarterback play. Is Mike LaFleur going to get fired? That's kind of it. Another guy who's kind of weirdly on the hot seat. A coach rather, who I think everyone thinks is really good. I think everyone thinks that he is very well respected. But as someone who was a fantasy owner of Jordan Love, that brother throws some of the worst interceptions I've ever seen in my life. Again, you will be having negative points. All of a sudden, you have 20 points with Jordan Love. It is a wild ride. But I do think the Packers are really talented, and I actually have them winning the division.
If you go back to like the last two games he played against the Giants, like the one Monday night game where he throws a strike to whoever the wide receiver is in the front left corner of the end zone, like, and then he does it, the same thing to this past season in the Meadowlands, the back right side of the end zone, like throws just two beautiful passes. But then also he throws some bullshit and gets bailed out once, and another time, we're picking it off. So it happens.
Happens to him more time again, just like, and that's the funny thing. It'd be one thing if he throws a lot. He only throws like 6 or 7, but it's like in the chest kind of interceptions, not tipped up in the air, caught like straight up right to the safety.
I've long had a debate about that too. Just from a ruling standpoint, we're both baseball fans, but there's a bigger, like, you can tell the difference between a wild pitch and a pass ball, like, and who that gets charged to, like. But if I'm hitting you in the chest with the ball, like, and it deflects up in the air and defense that should be an interception. That's on you. Like,
yeah,
this is a drop pass.
Exactly. Speaking to another team that was really, really good a couple years ago, their coach said that they might not get back to that spot, at the NFC Championship game, and they have not gotten back since. I'm talking about the Detroit Lions. Ready? Go.
They're a Max Crosby trade away from the Super Bowl. Right? Like, they do that. With Aiden Hutchinson up there, they love Jack Campbell. Everything going on with Terrion, he's not on the team anymore, and then their safety's getting hurt and Brian Branch being hurt. Like, if they have a good pass rush, it's not going to matter who's back there. So they're a Max Crosby trade away from being serious Super Bowl contenders. Their offense is going to keep them afloat. Amon-Ra's been All-Pro twice already. They got the best running back in the NFL. This is the time.
I agree. Max Crosby, I believe, is from Detroit, or there was a little bit of something like
from
that.
Michigan, yeah.
From Michigan, yes. I knew he was from around the way. Completely agree. Gangster Gibbs will be the first overall pick in many, many fantasy drafts. I really like the Detroit Lions. Obviously, it took a step back. I feel like a lot of that was due to injury. Quite as it's kept, Jared Goff has had back-to-back seasons with over 30-plus touchdowns. Like, he has had a very, very, very good career. A Kirk Cousins-esque career, if you think about it. When Kirk was in his prime. But I agree with you. I have the Lions back in the playoffs as well. Last but not least, listen, crazier things could happen. Kyler Murray did make the playoffs at one point when he was with the Arizona Cardinals. We are talking about the Short King and the Minnesota Vikings. Ready, set, go.
Well, as long as they have Brian Flores, they'll be okay, right? And he's going to be he's like the 33rd head coach, right? He's leads that defense unlike anything I've ever seen. He's throwing up, defensive blitzes at us in the first preseason game that don't get called until December. But I'm not confident with the offense. I think they need to trade Justin Jefferson now. Like, that's what I do think, because they don't have a quarterback and they're going to get him hurt. And you got to find a way to start over. How do you start over? Trading him.
It's rare to see in the NFL that the GM gets fired before the coach does, but the GM drafted JJ McCarthy. Again, forever. Hail to the victor, brother. I'll never forget what you did for me. But it is tough when you have, I think in any other division, I could see the Vikings going like 8-9, 9-8, something like that. The North is too good. And if those teams are just those are the games that they're going to look at as, we got to win these games. Like, it's not going to be messing around time when they play the Vikings. So yeah. All right. Finishing up with that, we're going to slide on over now to the NFC East and start off with the champions of the East, the team that, I will be completely honest, I've hated since the day I started watching football. Your Philadelphia Eagles. Ready, set, go.
It kind of starting to remind me, like, in the sense of how their front office is working, like the Warriors, like from like 2015 to like 2019. kind of got every necessary piece that they needed, and also had big splashes along the way. They retain very well, they draft very well, and then they develop very well. So I'm always going to be fearful of the Eagles because they seem to be able to pull out late game heroics, but they got everything they need in the right places. I'm not expecting any type of fall off from them this year. Saquon has a little bit of a resurgence, but there we go.
I think this team is too talented to not win the division. Like, I legitimately think 1 through 53, the Eagles are the most talented team in football.
Right.
I don't have to go through the whole list. You know it. I know it. We all see it. The biggest question mark, and I think this will be the whole thing tying the Eagles to the Patriots, can you get over your ex? All right. The Eagles have essentially, in a different way, been like the Packers, where they truly have never had sustained bad quarterback play in my lifetime. From Vic, McNabb, Cobb, Wentz, Hurts, Foles. It's been at least good to great quarterback play for a significant long time in Philadelphia, but we will see if Hurts is going to be the quarterback after this season. No guaranteed money on his deal. Next up, we are talking about the team from the city of Washington who used to have a racist name, but they don't anymore. They just have a racist guy sitting in the highest office in their vicinity. Yes, I am talking about the Washington Commanders. 32 seconds to talk about them at number 5, even though he doesn't want us to use his number anymore. Ready, go.
Yeah, out of respect for him, I'm going to leave a few seconds. But I actually don't feel like this team improved much at all. I appreciate the Sonny Styles pick there. I think he means business. I'm really not going to ever be super sold on Jaden Daniels quarterback, not as a quarterback, but his health. Like, that's always going to scare me because like he's a little light in the ass, I like to say. But and they need more than Terry McLaurin there as well. Does Stephon Diggs help? Maybe, but I'm not. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, a team that I think is the classic what used to be the Cincinnati Bengals with Marvin Lewis, the 8-8s. We don't have any more 8-8s anymore, but yeah, I don't really get a real sense of who they are. And I think it is going to be interesting because you have Jaden Daniels going to year 3. Next year can be extension time. He's going to want to put up some big numbers. And Dan Quinn definitely doesn't want to get fired twice. And
Right.
so how is that going to balance itself out in the division that I do think where there's going to be guys, really playing? All right. After that, we are going to head down to the South to talk about your favorite team, Dallas Cowboys. Ready? 30 seconds. Go.
Well, it's America's favorite team. It's not necessarily mine. However, I am going to be realistic. This is probably one of the better defenses that I've seen put together on paper in Dallas in a very, very long time. So, for that should be a little bit fun to see. They're going to have to figure out what they're going to do with George Pickens, right? And that's going to have to, or what George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. Offense, they finally got it. They finally got their shot, and this is the year. This is the year.
I think there is legitimate Cowboys buzz. I think their offense is going to be up there with the best offenses just in football in general. Maybe not just in the NFC. Definitely in the NFC with them and probably the Bears. I really like the Lions offense as well. I think we've kind of settled into who Dak is. He's oddly outlasted the criticism where it was, he's so great. This guy's overrated. He sucks. He's actually probably a top 10 quarterback. So I credit to him for honestly just sticking out this long as the Cowboys quarterback. 10 seasons for
10 seasons as of 10 years as of like 2 days ago. One they're playing the third preseason game. Tony Romo breaks out of the pocket in Seattle and he gets hit. That was it. Never saw Tony Romo play football again. So it's been 10 years.
Amazing to think about that one play changed Dak's entire career. Sliding on over to the team that we both have an affinity for, your New York Football Giants. Ready, go.
Well, it's nice to have a good head coach. How good is he? We'll see. And it's good to see what the energy has changed, and it has shifted even against the Vikings, like the first playoff game, preseason game around. God, you see, Tyrone Tracy misses a block. What do they do on Monday? They get Najee Harris in there, right? So I'm excited to see that competition has been bred. Preseason was hard. We got out a little bit unscathed. Shout out to Kevin Austin. I'm sorry about that. Like, that was going to be a great additive, but even Odell looks good. That old dog can still hunt.
Listen, man, Odell can still hit that wiggle, and that's all you need to get open. I took the Giants under. The main reason why I took the Giants under is because I don't believe you can have a frat boy at quarterback, and I might be on an island with this, but until I see actual maturity from Jackson Dart, it's hard for me to buy into this team. I really like the coach. One of the main things that we have said the whole time was the Giants did not need an offensive coach. The Giants did not need a defensive coach. The Giants need a leader of men. I do think John Harbaugh is that, but until his quarterback grows up, I cannot fully buy into this football team.
I'm in that. I'm in that wheelhouse.
And it's not political, everyone. He's just a frat boy. I remember y'all talking about Cam Newton needed to grow up. Cam Newton could ball. All right. His brother got a ball. Sliding on over to Cam Newton's former division, the NFC South division we will be talking about. The winners of the division, Cam Newton's former team. Surprising everyone. I don't think anyone had the Carolina Panthers winning the NFC South last season and almost beating the Rams as well.
At home.
People at home. That was a game until the very, very end. 32 seconds on the Carolina Panthers.
Those people were prideful down there in the Bible Belt of the country. And that team was a representation of that. They seem to be bought in on their offense, right? From 2-3 years in a row, drafting receivers, top of the draft. One of the best and most underrated corners in the NFL, and J.C. Horn. They have a lot of talent, a lot of young talent, and they have the quarterback cheap rate. This is make or break here for Bryce Young. A lot of people were saying like, they weren't too high on him. Then he has these sparks. You're like, oh shit, he can ball. They're the nameless Crusaders for a lot of reasons, right? They're not the Panthers of old, but it's not a team you're going to want to play in November.
Yes, a team like you said. If I ask a random NFL fan, can you name me 5 Panthers not named Bryce Young? They might be struggling with that, even their head coach. I am conflicted with them to see, did they simply just win a bad division or are they good? Part of me feels like they were in the latter half of that, but then I saw them play the Rams. Now, again, is this one of those any given Sunday things? Who knows? But they played the Rams twice that year, and I believe one year they beat them in the regular season.
Beat them in the regular season.
So we will see how Dave Canales has the Panthers looking in year 3 for him, I believe. Or year 4, rather. No, year 3. He's a year behind Bryce because they had a different coach his first year. Yes, sorry. Next team, the Bake Show, Cooking with Baker. We'll be looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for this time. 32 seconds. Ready, go.
You let ESPN tell it, and if you really watch it, they say Baker Mayfield's one of the best athletes in the world to watch when he's pissed off, and that's because he's playing for a contract this year. Last year was, kind of a mishmash of things because Godwin was out, Mike Evans was out. He tried to keep it afloat as possible, for as long as possible, but it's like it just kind of all dissolved from under itself. They ended up winning that last game that they needed to win, but they just didn't, work out for them because of the Saints. I think that this is going to be a team to watch, and I think this is a team that's going to win the division.
So I am fascinated by the Bucs in the simple sense of, is this Baker Mayfield's last season on the team? They very seemingly had a very strong, we're not paying you what you think you want to get paid. They're in a very bad cap situation. as you would be like, really? But they kind of are. Um, this is very much a complete turnover. I don't believe anyone on the team was on the team that won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Maybe Chris
So
Godwin's probably the only guy
that was
left.
the only one.
Yes. And I think that they're a team somewhat in transition. And I will be very curious to see what happens if they get off to a slow start if Baker's still on the team. Next up, we have your Atlanta Falcons, who, I mean, I don't think I can think of a worse quarterback situation that was happening on the Atlanta Falcons. And shockingly, who is it happening to again? Kevin Stefanski. 32 seconds on the Atlanta Falcons.
This is the strangest thing because this is the most talented offense in the conference, and one of the most talented offenses in the division. And they're not going to have anything to show for it because they don't have a quarterback. They have two left-handed quarterbacks who are often hurt and very, very inconsistent. They have a D2 quarterback on the roster that looks like the best quarterback on the roster, and they also have Cooper Rush. I
Their
think they
GM
need to
might be
trade,
the best quarterback in the building.
quite literally. I think they should trade for either Stinson Bennett. At one point, I thought they should trade for one of the quarterbacks in Cleveland. That wouldn't make much sense, although they have some familiarity with the head coach. Something needs to change.
They are very much the Lamborghini that you have in the middle of Minnesota. It's super nice. It doesn't make any fucking sense over there. They're going to be bad because their quarterback play is just going to be bad. I very much feel like Tua is going to retire. Whether that's his choice or the NFL's choice. It doesn't feel good for him. And the fact that I can't believe that they drafted Michael Penix in the top 10, who has no ACLs. I'm not being facetious. He has no ACLs.
Juwan Blair.
Dewan Blair. Listen, he played for the Spurs for a little bit. And the team bringing up the rear, but sneakily might have some worst to first buzz are your New Orleans Saints. 32 seconds. Ready. Go.
No, I just think they need some replenishment. That's it. Like they just need to replenish. They got to find the next up for Cam Jordan, right? They got to find another corner opposite of Kool Aid McKendry. But on offense, they're fine, right? Just sign Etienne or Etienne, however you pronounce it. Tyler Stock looks good, and you got Tyson, who's hurt right now, but is going to be back, in a few weeks, and then to max him in with Chris Olave. They just, they just need to find a few more pieces, but they're a dark horse team.
I think the problem with the Saints is I think that a lot of people want to have them being the worst first candidate. And I looked at them, but I'm just very concerned about their best players getting hurt. We just talked about Tyson. He's already out for 2 months. Chris Olave gets concussions all the time. And I'm very, very nervous about that. Tyler Shuck, is he going to be their guy, or is he a little bit of a product of what Kellen Moore can cook up? We will see. This is going to be an excellent quarterback draft this year. Tyler Shuck, if you're able to win a lot of games, you can make that a non-conversation. Last division we got to talk about a division that also probably is fighting for the we're the best division, especially in the NFC. I think the NFC North and NFC West are the only two teams that can really make claim to this. But yeah, and obviously we got to talk about the team that not only won the division, not only won the conference, but won the Super Bowl, and that is the Seattle Seahawks. 32 seconds on the reigning NFL champions.
Other than them losing Bud Clark, who's their rookie safety out of I think TCU, I mean, how could you want a better team, right? They drafted very well, they trade very well, and they resign and retain like no other, like the Eagles. Somebody who doesn't get enough credit, but is a hellacious defensive player, is Devon Witherspoon. He's physical, he's small, he's scrappy, but he gets to the ball. He makes turnovers happen. That defensive line out there is real. I love them to go back to go very, very far in the playoffs this year.
My only question is Clint Kubiak is no longer their offensive coordinator. He is not the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. And do injuries hit this team? You play a lot of games. Typically, if you keep playing more NFL games, you are licensed to have more injuries. I have them making the playoffs, but I have them not winning the NFC West this season, which essentially, as we just spoke about, you could argue was the difference between them winning the Super Bowl, getting to the Super Bowl at least, and getting knocked out in round one, potentially if they had to go on the road. Next, we're talking about the team that's probably going to be their biggest competitor, and right now, the current Super Bowl favorites, the Los Angeles Rams, who have talent upon talent upon talent. Ready? 32 seconds on the LA Rams.
If Aaron Donald doesn't come back, they go to the NFC Championship. If he does, they go to the Super Bowl. Hard stop. Like there's nothing more, nothing less we could say about it. They're just a talented bunch. Offensively, they got a running back by committee, but they got a quarterback that throws things sidearm over top. With touch, with flair, also with pure mechanics. Receivers, Devontae, Puka, they're good. They just traded for Trent McDuffie. This is a perfect team. I just don't know if they beat Seattle.
I have for the Rams top heavy. Very talented. You just went off on all the, not only just Pro Bowlers, I mean, they have some all pros and like Hall of Famers on that team. Still going very, very well. But this is a team that essentially just says F it to depth because they traded all their first round picks or a lot of their picks away. I am curious to see what a disappointing season for them is. I would be shocked that they didn't make the postseason. I think Stafford would have to be injured for that to really be a reality. But if they just get to Super Bowl and lose, or they get to the NFC Championship game, which they did last year, would they could be considered a failure? Okay, next up, a team that I think is in another little bit of a transition period. We are talking about the San Francisco 49ers. 32 seconds on the team up north in California, the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, I kind of liken them to Kansas City, right? Similar situation with their tight ends getting older, still young, but it's coming off pup list. The running back who's now 30 years old hasn't practiced, for most of training camp. They got some holes on defense. Nick Bosa's coming back from being hurt. The wide receivers, what's going on? Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall's out for the season. They're relying a lot on a rookie. I'm not high on them this year at all. You know what I mean? They're going to still be a hard team to play, but I'm just not high on
them. I have agree. I have Expendables. This team's hurt. And if you look at the injuries that they had in training camp, they're going to get hurt. You already went through a lot of the guys who are already hurt. They're so odd because they're either a team that's last season was the one season where they either didn't make the NFC Championship game or didn't win like 4 games. Like it was the first time that they just went to the playoffs, won a game, and didn't get all the way through. It got absolutely smoked in that playoff game against Seattle. I think I'm like you. I think that this team is in a transition period and maybe has to build out the second team with Brock Purdy and get, under this first team where a lot of these guys were still on that Super Bowl team that they went to. Lastly, a team that will be fighting with the Dolphins for the first overall pick, but they might be fun to watch in the Arizona Cardinals. 32 seconds on the Cardinals.
Yeah, man, I think they actually have like a really nice young core. If we can make everything come together with Marvin Harrison, which I think was more mental than anything. Because at points last year, he put it together physically. He has the traits. Jeremiah Love, we saw it and been like, oh shit, this guy does have like shades of his running style. He looks like Adrian Peterson. So you're excited about that. And then Trey McBride's one of the top 5 tight ends in the NFL. So you're like, oh, damn, this is good. And then Marco Wilson's also really good. They just need a quarterback. They really just need a quarterback. Like, their defense is going to make a way of doing whatever it needs to do. They just need a quarterback. If that happens, they'll be okay.
It is going to be great fun. It's going to be really funny when you just see M. LaFleur and J. Love, and you got to be like, which team are we talking about? The Packers or the Arizona Cardinals? Fantasy, because that's all I have therefore, is Marvin Harrison Jr. going to live up to his top 5 pick? Is Jeremiah Love worth the money or the first round pick that people will spend on him in fantasy? What is Wilson going to do? Cam McBride, I doubt he's going to be able to surpass what he did last season with an overall catch perspective, but fantasy picks, I think, is what this team is going to be. And that is it. That is all the teams in the NFL in 32 seconds. Thank you so much for doing that with me, Reek. I know you said you had a time crunch. Do you want to talk Big Ten real quick, or you want to?
Yeah, we can close it out with the Big Ten.
All right, we're closing out with the Big Ten, the best conference in college football. Also say they will not be taking more NFL players back from the NFL because they got the talent. Yeah, what's up, SEC?
Yeah, I got something to say about that too.
Yeah. Oh, listen, man. Go say your piece about guys going to the NFL and getting cut and coming back to college.
Yeah, so I think I speak for a majority of America, and that is talked about like this analogy I'm about to make up, but or speak about, and that is growing up in a household with parents the way I have, or me and you have. You know about that magical number, and that magical number is 18. And what do you do when you're 18? You got to get the fuck out of my house, right? My parenting from birth until your 18th birthday, no matter when it is, has been so purposeful, invasive, present, whatever word and analogy and adjective that you want to use for parenting has been imprinted so deeply and ingrained so deeply in you that at 18, you're ready to not only graduate from high school, but get ready to go to college or have a job or find a trade or anything of the sorts that you can go be a prominent civic human being in the United States of America freely, right? That's how it's going to work in the Big Ten. And I know for certain that's how it works at Ohio State. Once you leave this program, you're going to be ready for the professionals. And if you're not, you're going to be prepared for life thereafter. Like, you know what I mean? So there's no way that you're going to leave here having played ball here 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And all right, you're not good enough to play professional ball. Go talk about professional ball. Go write about professional ball. Go coach in ball. Something of the sort. But coming back here to play again after you already tried out and it didn't, I'm not going to say failed, but you didn't succeed in that moment. There's still other opportunities. There's still other leagues. If you want to go play arena ball, if you want to go play overseas, if you want to go play the UFL, which I used to work for, like you have all these other options. NFL is not the end all be all here. But what you're not going to do is come back and go to school again and play school after having already been, been here. It's not going to happen. So that's what I have to say about that, right? It's not going to happen at Michigan. It's not going to happen. And given the recent scandals with Michigan, that's definitely not going to happen there. It's not going to happen at Ohio State. I don't see that happening anywhere else in the Big Ten. Where that's definitely not going to happen. It's not going to happen anywhere. The only place I can see it happening is Indiana, and that situation is much more different because those guys were hurt. So that's the reason why they didn't get picked up. They never made a roster. They didn't necessarily exhaust their 5 years or anything like that. Now they're being afforded this opportunity. This is how this is going to come about. But the standard at Ohio State, that's not gonna cut it. So,
I would love to agree with you. I think that there's a standard, and I think that this is going to be sad. I also know it's college football, and they just want talent. And so while we have this one incident, there will be more. And because clearly all you got to do is find a judge somewhere. What's my man's name who just went to Florida State, who just found some judge? Now he's going to play for Texas Tech. And the only reason he's playing for Texas Tech because Brandon Sorsby can't. Okay, he keeps playing. It's like you can find a judge somewhere in some state that will give you an injunction that will get you to go play somewhere. And unfortunately, listen, I love Trinidad Chambliss too. Same thing happened to him. He was deemed ineligible. And they're like, well, find a coach or find a judge somewhere. It's like, he can play now. Unfortunately, college football, as much as we both love this, is the Wild Wild West, and they only care about talent. Moving on though, what I do feel about the Big Ten is I think that they have the 3 best teams in the country. In Oregon, in Ohio State, and Indiana. I actually think Indiana is going to be really good. I think that we are sleeping on them. They lost 1 game in 2 years.
And another thing is like I don't want anybody to act like this is just like some flash and pan from Kirk Cignetti. Like he was good at JMU too. He's
Yeah.
very good as coach at JMU. So this guy knows his way around the ball. He can coach. He can coach anything.
And how do you feel, I guess, about the Big Ten overall, but maybe just those three teams that I think are, well, I think the Big Ten has a lot of depth to it. I think those three teams are clearly the three best teams in the conference.
Yeah, yeah. So the three best teams in the Big Ten and three of the 10 best teams in the country. Um, you know, we also have 5 teams, I think, in the top 25. I think.
Yes.
Yeah,
Penn
Iowa,
State and no, Iowa and Michigan.
uh, yeah. So I mean, I love the conference and I love the direction of the conference. Even the rehires, with Paul, with Pat Fitzgerald going to Michigan State, um, and we're looking at the new Northwestern team with Chip Kelly at the offensive coordinator, and they just got a new quarterback from Michigan State. Like I like the direction of it, and recruiting seems to have revamped itself, right? Like to now we're obviously with the influx and insertion of NIL, it's making a little bit more parity in the league as far as where some of these 5-stars and 4-stars are going. We're getting a great deal of them, but I'm excited to see where this is going. I'm excited that Indiana decided to turn up on us, right? I'm excited to see that USC is excited about football again, right? That people are excited about the USC Trojans playing football again, and that's always going to make things challenging. The team in Oregon, Dan Lanning got to get them over the hump here, but they got a very very experienced professional, the experienced quarterback in Dante Moore. So I'm excited to see where it goes. I know from a conference perspective, our 1-to-1 against most conferences will kind of lap them. I think where we get caught up with the SEC is that they have a lot of talent towards the bottom tier. Like who's the worst team? Tennessee, Vanderbilt. Like where does it end? South Carolina. Like where does it end? But that said, overall, like our top 3 teams are so much better than everything else in the country that that's the reason why the last 3 years we've been national champions coming out of the Big Ten.
No, I absolutely agree. The 4 new coaches that we have, some retreads, not retreads, but some guys who are coaching other places. Kyle Whittingham for my team
Yeah,
because my coach got #snow bunny. We have Matt Campbell leaving Iowa State, going over to Penn State, taking over for James Franklin. Bob Chesney is going
Chesney.
to
Yeah,
Chesney, rather. I apologize, sir, because you are going to be the head coach of the UCLA Bruins. Also James Madison coach leaving,
James
and Pat
Madison.
Fitzgerald staying in the Big Ten, going from Northwestern to Michigan
No, so he had
State.
gotten fired, so he was
Oh,
off.
you're right. You're right. Yes.
Right.
Yes, I did. Oh, wow. Phew. Flashback. Oh, man. Northwestern, I just forget that you're just around. You're just there to check a win off the box for teams. Yeah, I think that this conference is going to produce 4 playoff teams. I think that we're going to have obviously whoever wins it between Oregon, Ohio State, and Indiana. I think there's going to be 2 teams. I think those 2 teams who don't win it are going to make it. I think those 3 teams are in, and I think there's going to be 1 team just on the bubble. Because if you look at some of the out of conference schedules, I think there's a way that a team like Michigan could sneak in. I think that UCLA, if you look at their schedule, a USC, I think has a potential chance to maybe even get into the playoffs. I think there's a lot of pressure on USC to really get in there. And I am fascinated by, to me, Lincoln Riley, because he was at Oklahoma. He had a lot of success at Oklahoma. And I think by and large part, the success at Oklahoma is not deemed like the success rather of Ohio State or USC, because what they care about is winning their conference, the Big 12 at the time, and beating Texas, right? USC standard is we had this one period where we could argue we were the greatest college football team of all time, right?
That's right.
It was a very short stretch, but you can argue we were the greatest college football team of all time.
I
And
mean,
for the
listen, the
last,
backup quarterback played for 12 years, right?
yes, exactly, right? And, won 10 games and almost made a Super Bowl, or almost made the playoffs after Tom Brady tore his knee up. Um, they're still chasing those glory days. It's been
Yeah.
20 plus years. They're still chasing that time. And I think Lincoln Riley was hired to get there. And so far, they've been good, but they haven't gotten even to that level of making the college football playoffs. I mean, he was doing that at Oklahoma. I think there's a lot of pressure on USC this year to really get there. It is way harder to make the playoff in the Big Ten than it is in the SEC, even though we know there's going to be more spots now this year, even before when he was at Oklahoma, but it's just hard. So if you want to talk to me a little bit about how you feel about the expectations, not just of SC, but of Lincoln Riley specifically.
Yeah. So I'm at one point it was probably one of the hardest jobs in the country, right? You know, I think like coming out after Pete Carroll and then like Lincoln and then my man down there in LSU, Lane Kiffin. She ran his course. They fired him on the tarmac. Like,
never forget.
So it was a difficult place to play. And then they go through their influx, like with the dismantling of the Pac-12 and like where's their new home and everything like that. So, you know, they're kind of getting outshadowed, and they're lucky that the conference has been the representation of national champions for the last 3 years, so they don't have to, you know, win immediately as they're transitioning into this new conference. But now the pressure's on because there was so much of an investment there. There was a large buyout to get them away from Oklahoma. There's a large buyout. You know, they brought Caleb Williams there. He won a Heisman Trophy, but like, what do they have to show for it? They lost to Tulane 3 weeks later, right? Like,
tough.
You know, so you know, there's been an exorbitant amount of wide receivers that came out of SC, and they're like, damn, he was there. Yes. What do they have to show for it?
Did they have? Because I think that I was seeing that they had Drake. I know they had Drake London and Amon-Ra at the same time. Didn't they have a third guy as well? I know Drake London and Amon-Ra were there at the same time. I got to look this up now because someone was showing me their stats. I was like, wow, they were all Comet's teammates. You can keep talking. I'll look this up.
Yeah. So you know, I also know that they signed one of the kids that's from or played high school football in my town. His name was Luke Waffle. He was the number one defensive end in the country. It's like 6'5". You know, this kid. So they got a lot of talent there, man. They have a very good quarterback too. It's now or never for these guys. Like, they just have to make the playoffs. To win 9-10 games, make the playoffs. You know what I mean? Be in the conversation in November. Beat UCLA and control dominance of California, because you know there's times where I think that, granted it's a different state, they're going to struggle with Washington, who actually is my it's my sleeper team. I mean, he has every resource at his feet because, like, you know, they are fully invested in football at USC, fully invested from a school bought in standpoint, from the fans, from ex players and alum. Like, they're fully bought in. He has every resource available to him at nauseum. And if he doesn't, you know, succeed this year, I would have to see, you know, that they would try to replace him. But the real question is, who do you replace him with? There's a large buyout plus, you know, who do you replace him with?
Exactly. Not a lot of guys. Well, I mean, how high that number you want to get for Kurt Signetti? Valid, that guy's leaving. Michael Pittman Jr. was the other guy we were trying to remember. All three of those guys play together at the same time at USC. Yes, I'm looking at their schedule right now. It's interesting. Depending on the weather, depending on it, I could argue they're not going to play any cold weather games. They have to go to Rutgers, but that's in September. It's going to still be hot. They have to go to Penn State October 10th. And then their last trip really to a cold weather state is going to be Indiana, November 14th. Now, it might not be exactly that's going to be the coldest. And obviously that's going to be like, you know, that might be the game to determine whether or not they can get into the postseason.
That might be the coldest game. And it also might be the game that they play at 9:00 on their bodies because it's going to be played at 12. Like that,
exactly.
That's it.
Yeah. And so SC, I think, has an opportunity. Look, if you get through the Big Ten and you just get to the conference championship game, or you finish third, you're making the playoffs.
Yeah.
I am very concerned about their defense because Lincoln Riley's defenses has been bad all
Yeah.
the time. His
All the time.
offenses are outstanding. Their defenses are, let's call it what it is, they're soft.
Right.
And I am very interested to see if the heat really gets turned up on him. I think the heat was turned up on him last year a little bit, but not to the degree I think, like you just said, like the money that's in it. Because one thing I know about college football, they will get your ass up out of there.
That's
Like they will find the money to
find
get
the
your
money.
ass up out of there. The last thing I just have to do, because it's me, I have to talk about Penn State, or sorry, Michigan rather. My team. I'm always gonna be grateful for Jim Harbaugh. I never saw winning until he came around. I actually saw a national championship team. Again, shout out to Michael Penix. He was on the other side of that. Um, I think this team very much is looking at 7-5. Their schedule is really hard.
They had
Like
Oklahoma.
they have Oklahoma. Now it's at home, but they have Oklahoma at home. They gotta play Ohio State. They have to go to Oregon, and I believe they play Indiana at home as well, or in Indiana. I will double check that one. But man, you got a quarterback who was the number one rated quarterback coming out of his class. I, let's see if we could develop if this happens. Credit to him for not transferring, which he could. When again his coach was hashtag Snow Bunny. I believe there's a lot of talent in Bryce Underwood.
Yeah.
His completion percentage was awful. It was awful last year. And I am just very concerned that you have a new coach, even though I do think Kyle Whittingham's good. And will they be able to, win enough games to get in? Again, I'm looking at their schedule right now. Uh, Again, at Oregon, at Ohio State, obviously they have Indiana at home, and they have Penn State at home, and they have Oklahoma at home. So two really tough road games. But that's really the only ones that I think are going to be tough ones. But again, I can see 7-5.
Yeah.
It's a team that I am very concerned about. Is just going to be kind of mid this year.
That's fair. That's fair. That is very fair. I mean, I have nothing that can I'm not trying to pile on as that alum or anything like that. There's a whole month out of the year. I don't even say that team, but it's just going to be a growing year. Just not what you all purchased in as far as the investment in Bryce Underwood. And I don't know what the other offensive talent is going to look like. So I feel you.
Listen, man, we will get through this together. Again, that's so that national championship wasn't that long ago. We don't got to worry
It
about the
wasn't.
scandals
It
behind it.
was not.
You know what
You're
I'm
right
saying?
about that.
I can still basket it. All right, everyone. Thank you guys again for listening to the Men Who Cry podcast. Reek, please tell the people where they can find you at.
Find me at Reek the Ruler, ReekethaRuler on Twitter or the X app, on Instagram, and that's all I got. So it's always a pleasure being on here with you. I'm looking forward to joining again during football season to see if I make good if any of my preseason uh, uh, you know declarations, and we go from there.
Yes, man. Thank you so much again. Football is literally around the corner. You can legit almost see it, kind of like Megan the Stallion's ass from so far away. Thank you guys again for listening to the Men Who Cry podcast. Again, like, subscribe, review, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. I'll be back talking all this good sports for you guys later next week. All right, everyone. Peace out.